Here is Alexis Avila, captured at the exact moment that would forever change her life and the lives of her family members. Without a second thought, she tossed a bag into a dumpster, unaware of the tragedy she was leaving behind. Inside that bag was a newborn left to face a freezing day with temperatures well below zero. Fortunately, a few hours later, some individuals rummaging through the dumpster heard the cries of a baby. They immediately shielded the child from the cold and contacted the authorities, saving the infant's life. Alexis Avila was born in December 2003 in Hobbs, New Mexico, to a Latino couple who sought new opportunities in the United States. Details about Alexis's early life remain scarce, but during her high school years at Hobbs High School, she met Stephen Astorga, a 16-year-old boy with whom she began a relationship. However, their relationship took a dark turn in June 2021 when Stephen hit Alexis during an argument. Her parents, outraged, forbade her from seeing him again. Despite their efforts, Alexis and Stephen continued their relationship in secret for a while until their final breakup in August, after which they both moved on with their lives. In the months that followed, Alexis seemed increasingly anxious, eating at odd hours and displaying noticeable changes in her mood. Her behavior became strange, but no one suspected anything unusual until December 17th, when she suddenly stopped attending school without explanation. By the start of the new year, Alexis appeared to be living her life as usual, though she occasionally complained of back pain. To pass the time, she would sometimes take the family car out, just as she did on January 7th. At 7:45 p.m. on January 7th, 2022, the Hobbs police received a distressing call from someone who had just discovered a newborn baby inside a trash bag in a dumpster behind a shopping center. The caller, who had been scavenging through the dumpster with two others, initially thought the sound they heard was a puppy's whimper. Upon opening the bag, however, they found a baby still attached to its umbilical cord, wrapped in a dirty, wet bath towel. A woman who was with the group noted that the infant was cold and barely breathing, and faint cries could be heard in the background of the call. The newborn was immediately taken to a hospital in Texas with a specialized neonatal intensive care unit. Doctors found that the baby's body temperature was so low that it didn't register on standard thermometers, indicating severe hypothermia. They had to take urgent measures using special blankets to warm him up, performing a blood transfusion, inserting a feeding tube, and administering oxygen. After significant efforts, the baby was stabilized, and miraculously, he survived. While medical staff fought to save the newborn, police were on the scene questioning the people who had found him. The group explained that they regularly searched local dumpsters for discarded valuables. When they heard the faint cry from one of the bags, they opened it and were shocked to discover a baby inside. The woman quickly got into their car, turning on the heat to shield the infant from the bitter cold, while one of the men dialed 911. Investigators soon began searching for the person responsible. A nearby shop had security cameras pointed at the dumpsters, and the police asked the owner to allow them to review the footage. Moved by the urgency of the situation, the owner agreed. The recordings confirmed the group's story, showing them rummaging through the trash and discovering the baby. As police rewound the footage, they saw a woman arrive in a white car around 2 p.m., casually toss a black bag into the dumpster and drive off without a care. The baby had been inside the dumpster for nearly 6 hours before being found, an incredible stroke of luck considering the sub-zero temperatures that day. The car's license plate was clearly visible on the footage, and when police traced it, they found it registered to the Avila family. When they arrived at the family's home, Alexis's parents were bewildered by the officer's presence. Shown the security footage, the parents identified the woman as their 18-year-old daughter, Alexis, but they were in shock when told she had abandoned a newborn. They insisted they had no idea their daughter was even pregnant. Alexis wasn't home at the time, but her parents promised to bring her to the police station. A short time later, they arrived with their daughter, who quickly admitted to what she had done. She explained that everything had happened so suddenly, and she didn't know how to handle the situation. She recounted how she had been suffering from abdominal and back pain, which she attributed to a previous car accident that had left her with chronic back issues. She had visited the hospital on January 4th, where she was examined by doctors who gave her pain medication but didn't diagnose her pregnancy. When her symptoms persisted, she returned to the hospital on January 6th, where a urine test confirmed that she was indeed pregnant. Alexis claimed she had no idea she was pregnant until that moment. She explained that in August 2021, she had taken 2 pregnancy tests. One was positive, the other negative, and she chose to believe the negative result. Her periods had continued normally, and she thought she was merely gaining weight. After receiving the news at the hospital, she said she panicked and could barely remember the events that followed. She recalled passing out after giving birth and, when she regained consciousness, cutting the umbilical cord, wrapping the baby in a towel and placing him in a plastic bag. She then cleaned up the bathroom, got into the car, and drove for a while before deciding to dispose of the baby in the dumpster. When detectives asked Alexis what she thought would happen to the baby after she left him in the trash, she remained silent. Asked about how she felt when placing the baby in the dumpster, she started to laugh, blaming her age and inexperience for her actions. In the middle of the interview, Alexis asked the detective if the baby was okay, and for the first time, she showed signs of remorse, letting out a deep sigh. Regarding the baby's father, Alexis explained that he was a boy she had dated until August 2021. Meanwhile, other officers searched the Avila family's car and Alexis's room, where they found clothing and a towel with bloodstains, along with red marks in the bathroom and other parts of her bedroom. Alexis's confession, combined with the discovery of this evidence at her home, left her parents in shock. They admitted that they knew their daughter had been dealing with supposed stomach issues, but they had no idea these symptoms were due to pregnancy. After her statement, Alexis was arrested and charged with attempted murder and child abuse. However, during her arraignment, she pleaded not guilty to all charges. The judge set her bail at $10,000 with the condition that she remain under house arrest while awaiting trial. Alexis's case quickly grabbed the attention of the media, and images of her near the dumpster went viral. Outraged, the community demanded that she be harshly punished. Facing an onslaught of criticism, Alexis's mother pleaded with the public not to judge her daughter too harshly, arguing that anyone could make a mistake. Afterward, she stated that the family had no intention of sharing their side of the story with the media. As the media dug deeper into the case, conflicting accounts began to surface. Testimonies and audio recordings contradicted Alexis and her family's claim that they were unaware of her pregnancy. Some of Alexis's friends and classmates recalled hearing her talk about being pregnant in late September or early October 2021. Another girl insisted that Alexis had known she was pregnant since April 2021, but didn't want to keep the baby. Adding to the controversy, a well-known news outlet released 911 call recordings made by the Avila family. These recordings revealed that both Alexis and her mother were aware of her pregnancy. In one recording from June 12, 2021, Alexis and her mother called the police, requesting their presence at the house. In the background, Alexis could be heard saying she had been assaulted, while her mother told the operator that her daughter had been at a party where her boyfriend had hit her in the face. During the same call, Stephen could be heard saying that Alexis had just told him she was pregnant, which prompted him to come looking for her, leading to an argument and physical altercation. This audio was a key revelation, showing that not only had the pregnancy been discussed months before, but also that Alexis and Stephen's relationship was deeply troubled. When questioned by police, Stephen admitted he knew about the pregnancy, but after their breakup in August 2021, Alexis had told him she had suffered a miscarriage. His father corroborated this, showing messages between Stephen and a friend where they discussed what they believed was a lost pregnancy. Amid the growing controversy, the Stevens family filed for custody of the baby, who was still recovering at a hospital in Texas. Stephen's father, who ran a business providing services to the local oil and gas industry, expressed his desire to raise his grandson, whom they planned to name Saul. Alexis's case sparked national outrage and prompted a heated debate within New Mexico communities and among state legislators about the need to strengthen the state's safe haven law. This law allows a parent to surrender a baby under 90 days old at a safe location, such as a fire station or hospital, without facing legal consequences or being questioned by authorities. The law was designed to provide a responsible alternative in situations like Alexis's, allowing a mother to leave her child in capable hands without facing criminal charges. Safe haven laws began in the U.S. in the early 2000s as a response to the rising number of baby abandonment cases. They aimed to protect newborns' lives by giving parents an option to safely surrender their infants. Following Alexis's case, in 2022, New Mexico legislators passed a bill to expand the state's safe haven program, allocating funds for the installation of baby boxes, secure and anonymous drop-off devices where newborns could be safely left. More than a year after the events, in April 2023, the trial of 19-year-old Alexis Avila began in a New Mexico court. Her legal defense argued that Alexis's actions were not premeditated, but were the result of an undiagnosed mental health disorder that had gone untreated. Her lawyer claimed that, while her actions were undeniably wrong, they were influenced by her bipolar disorder. To support this, they brought in a psychiatrist who had evaluated Alexis. The psychiatrist testified that she had thoroughly assessed the Avila family and knew Alexis's medical history, including her drug and alcohol use. She expressed concern about how Alexis communicated and administered a quick cognitive linguistic test, which revealed moderate attention deficit issues. The psychiatrist explained that although Alexis had told a doctor she had experienced menstruation during her pregnancy, she believed this to be impossible, attributing the statement to denial, a common symptom of bipolar disorder. She also noted that hormonal changes during pregnancy likely exacerbated Alexis's mood disorder. Additionally, she highlighted that both Alexis and her mother struggled to express their emotions. On the prosecution's side, their first witness was the doctor who treated the baby at the Texas hospital. She testified that the infant arrived in a very weak state and said it was nearly a miracle that he had survived. The neonatologist followed, discussing the baby's condition and the process of transitioning from a feeding tube to regular feeding. The expert also noted that the baby had tested positive for opioids, which could have been due to medication Alexis was taking for pain. The lead detective from the Hobbs Police Department took the stand next. While giving his testimony, the state played the video of Alexis's interview, where she claimed she only found out about the pregnancy the day before giving birth. However, the detective pointed out that there was evidence showing that Alexis had known about the pregnancy since at least June 2021. He also speculated that her parents were either aware of or suspected the pregnancy. Stephen, the baby's father, also testified, confirming that he had known about the pregnancy but believed Alexis had suffered a miscarriage after their breakup in August 2021. He recounted that he first saw his son, Saul, about a week after his birth at the hospital. Stephen described Saul as a beautiful and strong baby, though he was receiving treatment for asthma and a potential heart murmur. The most anticipated moment of the trial came when Alexis herself took the stand. She explained that she had been bedridden with back pain and had gone to the bathroom, where she unexpectedly gave birth. Alexis claimed she didn't remember much of the birth, couldn't recall whether the baby was on the floor or in the toilet, and her next memory was leaving the police station with her mother. She also stated that she didn't fully understand the severity of what she had done until 2 months later, after undergoing therapy. During cross-examination, Alexis confirmed that the bag shown to her was indeed the one she had used and acknowledged that the baby was hers. However, she had little to say about the pregnancy test she took in August 2021, only stating that she had just turned 18 and didn't recall telling anyone she was pregnant in April 2021. After Alexis's testimony, the defense rested its case and requested a direct verdict for the charge of child abuse resulting in serious bodily harm, but the judge denied the motion. Following closing arguments from both sides, the jury deliberated for over 2 hours before, on April 14, 2023, finding Alexis Avila guilty of child abuse with injury and first-degree attempted murder. At the sentencing hearing, Stephen addressed Alexis directly, saying that Saul was a healthy, loving, and beautiful baby. Although he would never forget what she had done, he was confident that one day Saul would grow into someone significant. Alexis's father also testified, asking the judge for mercy for his daughter. He said he prayed that one day he could meet his grandson. Alexis's mother asked the court to consider her daughter's mental health issues, insisting that Alexis would never have done such a thing if she had been in her right mind. The defense requested the lowest possible sentence, citing Alexis's lack of a criminal record, her mental health condition, her age, and her cooperation throughout the legal process. Alexis herself apologized to her son and her family for her actions. She expressed deep regret for depriving Saul of the chance to know his maternal grandparents, who loved him dearly, and said she was sorry that the first hours of his life had been so traumatic. She added that she feared Saul would grow up thinking she didn't love him, but she assured everyone that she did love him deeply. In contrast, the prosecution argued that Alexis had shown no true remorse for her actions and only did so after the guilty verdict was delivered. The prosecutor emphasized that Alexis had attempted to take her own child's life. On May 1, 2023, Alexis Avila was sentenced to 18 years in prison with 2 years of probation. When issuing the sentence, the judge took into account her mental health struggles and her age, reducing the sentence to 16 years with the possibility of probation. The court also ordered that Alexis continue receiving mental health treatment, medication, and further education during her incarceration. The judge told Alexis that, had it not been for sheer luck and the grace of God, she would have been facing a much harsher sentence for murder, as there was a high likelihood that the baby could have died from hypothermia or suffocation. Alexis responded that she wanted to learn to cope with stress and anxiety and better manage her emotions. She also expressed sorrow over missing the early years of her son's life and depriving him of her maternal love. For the Avila family, the sentence was devastating, while for Saul's paternal family, it felt too lenient given the gravity of Alexis's actions. Alexis's defense team emphasized that she would be 34 when she completed her sentence, and they would ensure she had access to therapy and education during her time in prison. After the trial, Alexis's attorney filed an appeal, and on May 5, 2023, requested her release while the appeal was pending, though the request was denied. However, on October 18th, the appellate court overturned that decision, ruling that Alexis did not pose a flight risk and could be released under the same pre-trial conditions. She was allowed to post a $10,000 bail and remain under house arrest. As of late October 2024, when our investigation concluded, no updates had emerged regarding Alexis's appeal. Meanwhile, 20-month-old Saul continues to live with his father, Stephen, and paternal grandparents. It remains unclear whether the Avila family has been able to establish any contact with him. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.